Have you ever felt like you are pushing a massive boulder up a very steep hill? You save money every single month, but the balance on your computer screen barely seems to move. It feels like you are working against a system that is designed to keep you running in place. Most people look at the goal of saving $1 million and feel completely overwhelmed. They see the first 10 years of slow progress and decide that the journey is simply not worth the effort. But today I'm going to show you a secret hidden in the mathematics of money. This secret will change the way you look at your bank account forever. The truth is that hitting your first $100,000 is the hardest part of the entire journey. However, once you reach that specific number, you have already finished one-third of the way to $1 million. I am not talking about the amount of money you have. I am talking about the amount of time it takes to get there. If you understand this math, you will stop feeling frustrated and start feeling powerful. Let us look at a simple example that applies to almost anyone watching this. Imagine you decide to invest $100 every single week into a standard index fund. If we assume a conservative annual return of 8%, it will take you about 12 years to reach your first $100,000. During those 12 years, you will feel like you are doing all of the heavy lifting. Almost every dollar in your account came directly from your own paycheck and your own hard work. The growth from the market feels like a tiny drop in a very large bucket. This is the stage where most people give up because they do not see the invisible engine starting to turn. But here's where the story takes a very surprising and exciting turn. Reaching your second $100,000 does not take another 12 years of grinding. In fact, it typically takes only about 6 more years to double that amount to $200,000. Think about that for a moment. The first 6 figures took 12 long years, but the next 6 figures took only half that time. You did not work any harder and you did not save any more money each week. The only thing that changed was the size of your mountain of money. This is why the first $100,000 is considered the most critical milestone in your life. It is the point where your money finally starts to work harder than you do. By the time you reach 36 years of consistent investing, you will have over $1 million. And if you look back at that 36-year timeline, 12 years is exactly one-third of the way. Even though 100,000 is only 10% of $1 million in value, it represents 33% of the time. This realization is the key to staying disciplined when the journey feels too slow. Why does building that first $100,000 feel like such a miserable grind? At the very beginning, your progress is dominated almost entirely by your own contributions. If you put in $5,000 and the market grows by 10%, you only made $500. That amount of growth feels insignificant compared to the effort it took to save that $5,000. Psychologically, this is the hardest bridge to cross. It is the stage where you do not yet see the miracle of compounding in action. Many people fall into what experts call the linear fallacy. This is the mistaken idea that progress will always move in a straight line forever. They assume if it took 12 years to save the first part, it will always take 12 years for every part after. But investing does not work like a straight line. Investing works like a curve that starts slowly and then bends sharply upward toward the sky. Your earlier efforts are actually laying a foundation that will eventually pay you back in ways you cannot imagine. Let us put some real-world numbers to this foundation. If you save $100 every week for 12 years, you will have contributed $62,000 of your own money. But your account balance will show over $100,000. That means nearly $40,000 of your wealth was created by the market while you were sleeping. Even in this slow beginning stage, the growth is already starting to take the weight off your shoulders. Think of it like building a massive campfire in the middle of a cold night. In the beginning, you're blowing on tiny sparks and feeding it small twigs just to keep it alive. It feels like a lot of work for a very small amount of heat and light. But once the logs finally catch fire, the heat becomes intense and the fire starts to roar on its own. At that point, you can sit back and simply watch the energy grow. This is exactly what happens when you break through that first 6-figure balance in your portfolio. It is the proof of concept that your system is actually working. It is the moment you see your account grow from both your discipline and the output of the money itself. This shift is incredibly powerful because it changes your entire perspective on the future. You stop wondering whether investing works, and you start realizing that the engine is already running. The workload is gradually shifting from your hands to the compounding effect of the market. Once that foundation is built, the momentum changes in your favor. The second $100,000 usually shows up in about half the time of the first. This happens because the interest is now earning interest on top of itself. Your contributions have not changed, but the money in your account is now doing the heavy lifting for you. The same habit suddenly produces results far faster than it did just a few years ago. It is not because you are taking more risks or chasing the newest hot stock. It is simply because the snowball has grown large enough to roll down the hill on its own. Each turn of the snowball adds more snow than your hands ever could. By the time you reach $200,000, you have crossed a major psychological tipping point. You have put in about $94,000 of your own money over 18 years. But the other $106,000 came entirely from growth and compound interest. This is the first time in your life where your account has generated more wealth than you have personally contributed. This is a life-changing moment for any investor. It is the point where you are being carried forward rather than doing all of the pulling. At $200,000, compounding has officially overtaken your own effort. Each year, your portfolio can grow by amounts equal to everything you struggled to set aside in the past. Financial educators call compounding a multiplier rather than just an addition machine. By sticking with the same simple plan, you have unlocked a stage where the chart starts to curve upward. The roll of time has magnified your effort 1,000 times over. This realization builds a level of confidence that cannot be shaken by daily news or noise. But even with this knowledge, many people get tripped up at the halfway mark. They assume that $200,000 means they are halfway to $1 million because of the math. But in the world of time and compounding, the math is very different. As we discussed earlier, $100,000 is actually the one-third marker of time. By the time you reach 18 years, your balance is around $200,000. That means you're exactly halfway through your 36-year journey in terms of time. But you have only traveled 1/5 of the distance to the final $1 million goal. Do not let this confuse you or discourage you. This distinction is actually the most exciting part of the entire process. It shows how powerfully the growth accelerates in the final stages of the journey. The earlier years move slowly because your money base is small. But after that first $100,000, the growth begins to collapse the timeline. Imagine you hold steady with your weekly contributions of $100. Across nearly 4 decades, you will have put in about $187,000 total. Yet the final balance will be over $1 million. The difference of more than $800,000 comes purely from growth. This is why time matters more than intensity. Your role as an investor is front-loaded. You do the hard work at the beginning so the money can do the hard work at the end. At $200,000, you can see this logic clearly. An 8% return on $200,000 generates $16,000 per year. For most people, that is more than they can save through months of disciplined labor. You're no longer just adding money with your effort. Your account itself is producing results that rival a part-time income. This signals that your wealth building has entered a much easier and faster lane. The psychological impact of this milestone is vital for your long-term success. In the beginning, every single deposit felt like a life or death decision. You did not trust the growth because it was not visible yet. But now you are seeing annual increases that are larger than your total annual contributions. This flips your perspective and makes saving feel much more satisfying. You start to see the growth as a reward for your years of patience. Some investors find that they want to push even harder once they see this momentum. They might decide to add a little more each week because the proof of progress is so motivating. Adding a small extra amount at this stage is like pouring gasoline on a fire that is already burning hot. It stacks on top of a compounding engine that is already running at full speed. That is why you should not view the early milestones as just a climb up a mountain. Instead, see them as the point where the slopes finally begin to change in your favor. The journey beyond the first 100,000 is easier and faster because it is powered by time. 1/3 of the time, but far less than 1/3 of the total effort. However, there is one major challenge that every investor will face eventually. Market volatility is the enemy that threatens to undo all of your steady progress. It can be terrifying to open your account and see a large balance drop by 20% in a month. When you have $200,000, a 20% drop is $40,000. That feels like years of your hard work has simply vanished into thin air. This emotional gut punch is why most people panic and stop their contributions. But what looks like a disaster in the moment is actually your greatest secret weapon. Short-term declines do not erase long-term compounding. They actually enhance it if you keep your system running. Imagine you are still adding your $100 every week during a market drop. Because prices are lower, your $100 is buying you more shares than it did before. These extra shares are quietly setting you up for even bigger gains when the market recovers. And history shows that the market has always recovered and reached new highs. Whether it was the Great Depression or the financial crisis of 2008, the pattern is the same. The investors who stayed consistent through the chaos are the ones who ended up with the largest balances. To turn volatility into an ally, you must make your contributions automatic. Automation removes the human emotion from the decision-making process. It guarantees that you are buying more shares when they are effectively on sale. Think of the people who kept investing during the sharp market drop in 2020. They felt the fear just like everyone else, but they did not stop their deposits. When the rebound happened, their balances grew much faster than those who tried to time the market. Consistency is what captures the advantage of time. Once you see volatility as part of the natural process, the journey becomes much clearer. The real story of wealth is not about predicting the next crash or finding the perfect stock. It is about consistent effort and using the physics of time to your advantage. Reaching $100,000 is not just about hitting a round number. It is the point where your money begins to grow faster than your personal effort. It is the hard proof that your discipline is building a future of total freedom. From that point forward, every milestone arrives faster than the one before it. Not because you are working harder, but because your money is finally taking over the workload. Let us recap the journey one more time so it sticks in your mind. $100 a week at 8% gets you to $100,000 in 12 years. It gets you to $200,000 in about 18 years, and it leads you to $1 million in about 36 years. Out of that million, only about $187,000 came from your pocket. The rest was a gift from the power of time and the miracle of compounding. If you do not know where to start, just pick any amount you can automate today. Whether it is $20 or $50, the most important thing is to start the clock. Decades from now, you will look back and thank yourself for having the courage to begin. The second million is waiting for you, and it will arrive much faster than you think. Stay consistent and let the math do the work.